This is Tanner Wilkinson, voice of the Snow College Badgers, here with a pregame preview as the Badgers get set to take on Lackawanna College out of Scranton, Pennsylvania, right here in Ephraim. I'm joined by Director of Broadcasting Joe Williams. Joe, it's been a hot minute. You and I got maybe a little too much of each other 3 days in New York City, up to West Point. And while we had fun, unfortunately, it was a long trip back for the Badgers after a triple overtime loss to Army's JV team. As wild of a game as you and I have maybe either seen or called. But the good news for the Badgers, they're back home. They've been home for a while now, and they get a chance to redeem against a fun opponent in Lackawanna and what's been a fun series over the years.
Really, though, it has been a fun series. And that Army game, wow. It was impressive on both sides of the ball. And I should say, Army, Bryson Luter, huge shout out to him, single-handedly won that game. Like, if they didn't have him starting at quarterback for them, Snow would have ran with it, and as they did for that entire first half. But they came alive in the second half and took it to triple overtime.
Looking at Lackawanna, last year a complete shootout. 43-40 was the final. Going to be interesting to see if there's similar fireworks. Lackawanna's off to a really good offensive start. They got a quarterback who's thrown 9 touchdowns to just 1 interception. I think this is going to be the Badgers' biggest test defensively. Now, Army was unique a week ago in what they ran schematically, but as far as skill position goes and overall talent, I think this is going to be the biggest test for the Badger defense.
I mean, he's thrown for 9 touchdowns in his first collegiate start, the beginning of this season. He threw for 330 yards. His first ever collegiate start. That is impressive. You know, we see Lackawanna really favors that passing game. Probably about 2/3 passing, 1/3 running. Their wide receivers are all very talented, get a lot of catches. They spread the ball out well. It's going to challenge Snow's pass rush, their pass coverage. And really, that is where Snow struggled against Army, was on the line. And that is going to be another huge test this week.
Interested to see how the Badgers do offensively, because not a lot you can complain about offensively for Snow College. A couple of fumbles that were key at kind of the worst possible times when you look at that. But aside from that, the Badgers moved the ball extremely well. Not a lot of penalties on offense, which was really a big thing moving forward for this team. Feels like they finally established some good identity and hopefully can carry that over into this game. Lackawanna did give up 49 points to Georgia Military, who the Badgers will see in a couple of weeks. But overall, Snow's got to be feeling pretty good about where they're at offensively after the struggles against Tyler to the success versus Army.
When you have players like Seth Rigtrup and Mikel Paiva, and when they are locked in, you can't beat Snow's offense. They are incredible. And it really is going to take those guys and that line and everybody to buy in order to beat a very, very talented Lackawanna team. And as you just mentioned, this is just the start of 3 intense, hard games. You've got Lackawanna College this weekend. You've got homecoming, Iowa Western in 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks after that, you've got on the road in Milledgeville at Georgia Military. It's going to be a few hard games, and the Badgers need to be ready.
Yeah, Badgers looking to break that streak, a 2-game losing streak, looking to get back on track, and the perfect opportunity comes against ranked Lackawanna College right here at Terry Foote Stadium and Robert Stoddard Field. You can catch our pregame coverage beginning at 6:30 with kickoff slated for 7 on SnowTV, the Mid-Utah Radio Sports Network, KMTI, 650 AM and 95.1 FM, and Centricom Channel 10. Joe, really excited to see what Coach Erekson has to say, what the game plan is against this potent Falcon squad.
Yeah, let's roll it.
Once again, this is Tanner Wilkinson here with Snow College head football coach Zac Erekson as we preview the Badgers game against the Lackawanna College Falcons this coming Saturday at Terry Foote Stadium and Robert Stoddard Field. Coach, always a pleasure. Always good to be with you.
Good to be here.
Before we jump into Lackawanna, it's been 10, 12 days since that matchup with Army JV. Just real quick, wanted to hear your thoughts now that you've had some time to digest that triple overtime game.
Do we have to?
You can give me 60 seconds if you want.
You know what? It was one of those football games that now that we're a little removed from it, right, you can appreciate how good of a football game it was. That's going to be one of the toughest, most physical football teams we will play all year. Unfortunately, when it was time to make some plays, we just didn't make the plays that we needed to make. Both defenses had a hard time stopping the other offense. We actually outgained them 465 to 380, I believe, offense. And so, offensively, we were doing things we needed to do, but their defense couldn't stop us, and defensively, we couldn't really stop them. They had 360 yards of rushing and 5 yards of passing on the 3 passes that they threw. But it was a game that when you look back on, you kind of kick yourself in the head, because there were multiple times where we could have won that game and put that game away. And, and you get to that third overtime, and we practice that, believe it or not. We practice overtime. We practice our 2-point plays that we know if you get to that third overtime. And we had one of those plays called in that first attempt in the third overtime, and just our mesh between our quarterback and our running back didn't, pan out the way we would hoped. And they picked it up and went 98 yards for a touchdown. It's just, you beat your head against the wall, because we had every opportunity to win the game, and our guys played hard the entire time. And then for us to just come up short just like that, and for it to end that way, it was really hard to swallow in that moment. But great experience being out at West Point. That was unbelievable. Being able to tour West Point Sunday, and then being able to play in Mickey Stadium and enjoying that whole atmosphere, and kind of gives you a little more appreciation for those guys and what they do in our military and our armed forces, and how they can. It's funny, because the joke was that for them, football is like a break from everything they're doing. They get to go to football practice, and to be able to kind of explain some of that stuff to our guys, I think it was eye-opening. And so, you hate every time you step on the field, you play to win, and you want to win, and you hate when that doesn't happen. But I think all in all, it was a good trip. I think our guys, we learned a lot about ourselves and our fight in our team. And now we just got to find a way to clean up those little things to make sure that when we get into those situations, we can actually finish and come out on the other end of that.
You've had some time off with the long trip back east. How has the bye week gone? How do you guys feel physically having some of this time off?
Yeah, so, fortunate for us, after that game, we did have a little bit of some time to get some guys healthy. While there were no significant injuries in the game, it was a very physical game, and we had a lot of guys beat up that needed a couple of days. And so, right now, as we look to Lackawanna, we are about as healthy as we've been. We've had a couple of season-ending things for guys, but nothing in that game. And so, as far as our depth and our guys, we feel pretty good. They did have a couple of days off. We had a JV game mixed in here where it kind of built in an extra day off for our guys. And so we're chomping at the bit to get back onto the field. This is uncharted territory for us. 2 losses in a row hasn't happened in the last 6 years. And so we're just very anxious to get back on the field to try to get back on the right track.
Now the matchup with Lackawanna, it's been a great series for you guys, unfortunately coming to an end after this year with them going to D2. It was a shootout last year in Scranton. What type of game are you anticipating being played here in Ephraim this year?
I hope we show up and we play much better than we've played each game. I think in certain aspects of our gameplay, we've gotten better. I still think there's some areas that need some serious improvement. But I think if we continue in the trajectory that I hope we go in, that we'll be able to play a game that, that we can control. Defensively, they've always been really good. For them, the question mark is how good is their offense? Do they have a quarterback? Do they have receivers? Is their offensive line going to hold up? And as we've studied them throughout the course of the year, we still have some question marks, because they've only been tested one time against Georgia Military. And so in that game, you do learn a little bit about them, because you can see the physicality of that game. However, Georgia Military is very unique in what they do offensively. And so you're just kind of some of that you're kind of guessing to see. One thing I do know, their secondary is very, very talented. Their defensive line is a little undersized compared to what it's been. And so, we'll be trying to look at, opportunities for us to take advantage of things we feel we have an advantage over them in, and hopefully be able to capitalize on that. But we know that, these guys, we know each other as well as, brothers know each other. Our coaching staffs have a great relationship. We have enjoyed this relationship. Kind of sad that it's coming to an end, but as we get out there to play this game, it's going to be it's like a chess match against, like I said, your brother, because especially offensively for us and defensively for them. Bill Reese is their defensive coordinator. I call the offense here. We've done this 6 times, and so we know each other very well. And each year you see a little wrinkle from one or the other. And like you said, last year it came down to, we scored with, I think, less than 12 seconds left in the game last year to win that one out there in Scranton. And so, being at home always helps. And we hope that, we got our home field advantage that we feel is the best in the country. And we just got to eliminate the turnovers, and we got to eliminate the silly penalties and some of those other things. And I think we can get back on track. We've had a great week of practice. The guys, like I said, are anxious to get back onto the field. They've got a bad taste in their mouth, probably not as bad as I do, but we're ready to get back on the field and hope that the preparation and the work that we've put in over the last 2 weeks will manifest itself in a win.
Let's talk defensively now. You mentioned what you feel like the offense needs to do defensively. Their quarterback's off to a great start, 9 touchdowns to just 1 interception. They're putting up a lot of points. Granted, against maybe some questionable competition at times. What are you guys looking to do to slow him down and slow this high-powered offense?
We've got to keep him in front of us. And when I say him, I mean basically that whole offense. Almost kind of like a bend, don't break mentality, because they do have some very athletic guys out on the edge, and that quarterback can do 2 things. He can beat you with his arm, and while he's not a burner, he is very capable as a runner. And so we've got to just keep all 11 guys in front of us and not give up the big play. And I think if we force them into 12, 14, 15 play drives that maybe end in a field goal, then we're going to consider that a win, right? And make them drive the length of the field on us, because I think that's where, for us, we can benefit, right? They're coming from basically sea level, and if they're out there having to go 10, 12, 14 plays, I think that falls in our favor. And so just really keeping everything in front of us, trying to create turnovers. This week, he will see something different on the back end than probably what we've shown throughout the course of this season. They're schematically, offensively, they do a lot of the same stuff that we do. They do it differently, but schematically it's the same. And so our defense feels really good about being able to see that full speed from us, from what they've gotten in practice and what we did in camp. And so just keeping him in front of us and trying to create turnovers and making them, like I said, go the length of the field, I think works in our benefit.
So I've got to ask this. They're from Scranton, Pennsylvania, home of Dunder Mifflin Paper.
I didn't even know what that was till my first trip to Scranton.
So I have to ask, one of the most famous lines from The Office is, "I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious." So, Coach, do you have any game day stitions out there?
You know what? No, not really. I'm not a very superstitious person. I would say, no, I really don't. So Fridays of home games, I usually go play golf once we finish practice. And we've basically closed the book on the prep. I usually will sneak down south and head to Palisades and kind of take a deep breath. Outside of that, I don't really, I don't wear the same socks. I don't, eat the same thing. It was funny because as a player, I was a little superstitious. I always had to have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich before the game as a player. and that was about the only thing. But in coaching, I would have to say no.
Okay.
I'd have to say no.
Well, Badger Nation was itching to know that, so now they know.
Yeah.
Coach, appreciate your time. Best of luck. Looking forward to seeing you and the boys out on Saturday.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.